Hey everybody, this is gonna show you how to create your bubble forms. So you're gonna write either your name in bubble letters, which you'll make your letters a little bit more curved, or if you'd like, you can make them more straight. It depends on whether you want kind of blocky letters or whether you want bubble letters. If I want blocky letters, I'm gonna make these feet straight on the bottom and then use straight lines to follow the parallel lines that are already marked out for me. Okay? If I want to use the bubble letters, then I'm going to have curved feet and then follow these with curves along the way. So that's to do those bubble letters. I've already done this many times, so I've kind of practiced it. This, I don't really like how that looks. Anyway. So now that I've got my letters drawn out, I want to choose a color. You can choose whatever hue you want. I'm just gonna do blue, and I'm gonna mix both a tint and a shade of my blue. So when we start to make a tint, remember that you're gonna take your white, you're gonna bring that over here, and I've got proportionally a lot more white than I will blue. And so I'm gonna add just a little bit of blue to my brush and then bring that over to the white to mix a tint, okay? I'm adding a little bit of water here and there. I could even make this a lighter tint than this. You might need a little bit more paint, but let's start off with that. I'm also gonna make a shade, so I'm gonna bring my blue over here, spin that to get all the paint off, and then add a little bit of black to make my shade. Okay, so I've got my tint, I've got my shade, and of course I have my traditional blue hue. And I want to paint in with the general hue color first. So I'm gonna start that off and practice painting inside the lines like we've practiced before. I generally start on the outside and then fill the insides. Now, different types of paints will require different things. Watercolor and oil paints don't necessarily operate in the same as acrylic paints, which is what we're using now is our acrylic paints. And so you can layer with acrylic paints very easily and very quickly, whereas with oils, you need to wait sometimes months for your paint to dry, all depending on the humidity and what kind of mediums you use. But we're not using oil paints in Art Fundamentals. I'm not sure that we're gonna get around to it at all in high school actually, because it's a little bit more of a college technical skill. If you choose to go into art in college, you'll learn about it then, I'm sure. So I've got my general hue, and I wanna make sure that I wash off my brush real good, and I'm gonna have my light source coming from the right direction. So where my hand is, let's imagine that's where the sun is. I want to then have all of my highlights or all of my tints closer to that side. So that would be along here and here and here. Okay, so I'm gonna go in and add a little bit of tints into here. And what I'm doing is kind of going back and forth to help kind of blend these colors. So I'm blending my just local color, which is my blue, in with my tints by kind of going back and forth, maybe getting a little bit of your paint off, and then allowing just that wet brush to kind of blend some of that color together. Do the same thing over here. Okay, so you really want to have your brightest highlight right here. If it's not super bright and that's not the most evident highlight, make sure you go back in and paint over it. If it's just picking up the paint, let it sit, let it dry a little bit, and then you can go back over and create that really bright highlight. So I've got my highlights over there, and now I want to work on my shades. Those are going to be on the other side. I'm going to take a little bit of my shade, and those are going to go along here, kind of on the inside of my letters. And then on the outside, furthest away over here. Now you can see some of the pencil lines underneath. You won't be able to see that with yours. And then I'm just gonna go again and start to blend some of those colors together by using my wet brush. And I can always go back in and add a little bit of blue to help create a little bit more of that softer transition. You can also put a little bit of shadow at the very bottom of your letters, because that will give that impression that it's got that weight and it's got that heaviness, and that will kind of like that sensitive line will allow it to have that shadow underneath. All right, and so I'll finish that up with my rest of my letters, but have fun and good luck.